Everybody, Adam Jackson here, back with another episode of the Adam Jackson Show. For background, I'm co-founder and CEO of Braintrust, investor in a lot of startups, LP in a lot of venture funds, hedge funds. I record this show periodically to help founders, investors, people who build startups, invest in startups, learn from things I do, mistakes, wins, that kind of thing. Here to help. I haven't recorded this show in a while because I've been really heads down over the last few months building and subsequently launching Braintrust Air, which is the world's first fully autonomous recruiting platform. Today I'm going to walk through all of the steps of basically conceiving of this product, why now, how we built it, telling the story, and how we launched it and how it's going. And as always, if there's any questions, anything I didn't cover or something you'd like to go deeper on, drop a question in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys. Okay, so why now? What's kind of the backstory of Braintrust Air? So Braintrust had grown really quickly when interest rates were low, companies were hiring, lots of demand for tech talent. And then when the macroeconomic environment cooled off and the economy pulled back, we went into what I call an enterprise recession. Things started to flatten out. And I really had no idea that our business would be that cyclical. So I really started thinking, what can we do? What can we build at Braintrust that would counter that cyclicality, that would be something that our clients and talent would need all the time, regardless of the macro environment. I'd also been following AI very closely, pretty much my whole career, and this is around when OpenAI's ChatGPT came out, and this explosion of LLMs hit the market. And I started thinking, what's a great way to leverage this technology in the HR tech space where we play? And so that's where the idea for basically a fully autonomous AI recruiter platform came from. And I thought, this could be so valuable that we might be able to even charge a SaaS fee for it. And the more folks that use Air to recruit, screen, evaluate candidates, the more people would hire on Braintrust. So it's like a SaaS platform bolted onto a marketplace. And if you've been in this business long enough, you know that SaaS and marketplace together are like peanut butter and chocolate, if you can figure out how to get it right. So first, I'll talk about the process of building it. So first, you got to do tons of user research. Make sure that you're going to build something that people actually want. I talked to hundreds and hundreds of recruiters about the pain points in their job. And overwhelmingly, I heard they get hundreds and hundreds of applicants for each job, really don't have the bandwidth, the time of day, the cycles to look at every applicant, let alone live interview all the good ones. And so I thought, look, here's low-hanging fruit. And we actually, after we launched this, we saw many comments from recruiters saying like, this actually does solve a huge pain point. So make sure you're building something people want. Then we set aside the investment capital needed. So we'd raised a fair amount of money before, have a great balance sheet. So set aside a few $1 million to hire a new chief architect, bring on 2 more engineering teams. So we didn't slow down the existing team that's been building the core marketplace at Braintrust. We want to keep the progress going there. So I've added 2 more teams and expanded the data science team. We're building on top of open source LLMs, commercial LLMs, using our own proprietary data, thousands of hours of recorded video interviews to train this thing and build the weights and make sure it actually functions well. So, and then we rebooted, still scrappy, but we rebooted the marketing team. The next part's really critical. This is a part that I've gotten wrong a lot of times. A lot of founders I see don't, they ignore this step, and that's perfect storytelling. Tell the story succinctly. So I started previewing this idea with a lot of early investors, early backers of the project, Just taking a walk, getting a coffee, having lunch. I probably did this 50, 60 times, before we really even started building it, to get, a 5, 6, 7 minute kind of wandering pitch down to 30 seconds. I'll deliver that pitch to you now because it's been super refined, just so you have a sample. So the way I describe Braintrust Air is a hiring manager will come to Braintrust, start typing in a few words of the role they need. Say it's a UX designer. Braintrust Air then writes the full job description for you, tailors it for the company you work for based on the data we have on the company, then posts that job to the Braintrust job board as well as LinkedIn and many other job boards. And then, as we all know, the applicants start rolling in, hundreds of them, maybe even 1,000 sometimes. And Braintrust Air will analyze every single applicant based on their experience, their skills compared to the job, and decide who should go forward to a live screen. Let's say you get 400 or 500 applicants, you whittle it down to 90. Air will then schedule a live video screen with each of those 90 people and actually conduct the live interview in parallel with each of them. And it's very conversational. The Braintrust Air will dig into the person's background, ask them what the challenges were, which frameworks they used, why not that other framework, go very deep, just like a human recruiter would, and then build a scorecard based on that conversation. Braintrust, it's worth noting, Air is also trained to ignore things that humans usually allow their biases to influence. So the location of the applicant, their gender, age, demographics, ethnicity, things like that, things that shouldn't be considered in a job application. Humans can't help but be a little bit biased sometimes, even really good ones. And so Air is trained to just ignore all that stuff, to make it a totally level playing field and give applicants that are not even looked at today a fair shot at the role. And then about 2 days later, Air will hand back the best 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 applicants back to the hiring manager. And then the hiring manager takes back over and can just do live screen and go much deeper with just those 5 or 6 people instead of having to do the 90 themselves. So it crunches a 6 or 7 week hiring process down to about 2 days. And so that's the pitch. 3 or 4 months ago, that was a much longer rambling pitch. But one of the really important pieces is you have to watch the person you're pitching or describing this to, and watch their body language, watch their facial expression, and zero in on when, and hopefully you have one of these, when they have kind of an oh shit moment. For us, it's that piece where I say, Air then conducts 90 live interviews for you in parallel, goes deep with them, very conversational, and then hands back the best 4 or 5. That part was new. There's a lot of other new stuff in there, but that's the part that really resonated with everyone I spoke to. So we really kind of make sure we hit that point as quickly as possible. Then if you do this pitch and have this conversation enough times with enough people in your industry, you'll learn about, you kind of have them say it back to you, and you'll learn different ways to describe the technology in even simpler form. So one of the pieces of feedback I got was the person said, wow, this is like, AI, you kind of think of AI in 2 buckets. AI tools that will kind of sit next to you and hopefully make you a little bit more productive, but like you're still spending the same amount of time on the job, maybe shave 5 or 10% off here and there, but it's kind of a co-pilot. And then there's AI that does all the work for you, right? That's actually saving you big blocks of time. Braintrust Air is definitely in that second bucket of doing the work for you. And that was an incredible analogy or archetype that we use to this day. The next step is get this message out to the public. Record a really compelling demo video. I was inspired actually by the Devin, the autonomous developer video, which came out a few months ago and shows an AI developer actually doing simple, and it's kind of not so simple programming jobs. The way they laid that video out, though, it's about 3 minutes long. Great demo, is live as far as I know. live product. So we did the same thing. We first recorded it. It was about 5 minutes. It was a little too wandering. We scrapped it. We still published it it's a good sales asset, but then we started over and I did a 3-minute version. And it's just me talking to the camera just like this and showing live product views. And that's the video we ended up going with on YouTube. And then you cut down little 30-second clips of that you can use in social as well. Okay, so your next job is to get lots of views on it, make it go viral. And so some tactics here I'll share that worked for us. So first thing is you pick a launch date. You post some teasers before the launch date to get people noticing like, hey, there's something coming on Monday. You get your community involved. We're lucky here at Braintrust. We have almost 1 million members in our registered talent community, lots of followers on social. You do things like post polls, ask, what's your opinion on AI? And don't be afraid of negative feedback, right? Like embrace, any potential controversy here. Run contests. We do it on our own platform, the Braintrust Professional Network, as well as LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Then on launch day, we make the announcement. We send a big newsletter to our whole community asking people to share it. We did small amounts of paid on YouTube and a few other platforms, very small, like hundreds of dollars here and there to boost it a little bit. That really helps. Not huge budget stuff. And then it was launch day about 2 weeks ago, and we started getting great views. And we also saw a little bit of controversy and debate coming up in the comments. And it's really important to lean into that. I actually had to say this on our All Hands a couple days ago, when you build something of consequence that matters, it will be controversial by default. Everything's controversial that matters. If you build something and no one says anything, you didn't make a big enough splash. So lean into those things. I'm actually going to record another video kind of modeled after Jimmy Kimmel's mean tweets, where I address a lot of the controversy that came up and a lot of the questions. And there's, talent is a little bit tepid about, having to interview with an AI instead of a person. And the truth is, these folks would have never gotten an interview anyway. It's not their fault, right? It's just because when a hiring manager is staring down the barrel of a 500 applicant gun, they're only going to pick the first 20 or so and then interview those, or 30 or 50. They're not going to interview or look at all 500. And AIR actually looks at every single applicant and gives everyone a fair shot. So the controversy is good. And so the results, we had over 500,000 views of our core asset, the demo, that 3-minute demo video on YouTube. Should hit 1 million in the next couple of weeks. 3.5 million as of today views across all the other channels. Received great coverage in Fortune, Yahoo, Semaphore, ZDNet, Superhuman, a bunch of other great outlets that picked it up. We did have a PR firm. We use Edelman that helped us push that. They're really excellent. I highly recommend finding a great PR firm to help air cover on this stuff. We were named #1 on a list of 10 best recruiting tools. So really good results. But the job never ends. You got to keep that flywheel going. My advice is, as a founder, be paranoid. Don't wait. Launch as soon as you can. We were first out the gate with this fully autonomous recruiting platform. It helps to be first. It's not always first mover advantage. Obviously, it's not always going to guarantee you success, but it does help to kind of put your flag in the ground first. Make sure you test the messaging thoroughly. Find that holy shit moment and hang your hat on it and keep hitting it. Keep your team small. We have, very small team here. Several different core teams that contribute to Braintrust, but our small core team at Freelance Labs can move really quickly, and that helps. There's not a lot of layers. And if you're a founder, you got to make time in your day to think through this stuff every day and think about your next move. And I'm out doing about 8 to 10 miles a day on foot, just kind of rolling all the different challenges through my head and meditating and figuring out, what's the right thing to do next. Clear that time for yourself every day instead of just being in meetings all day. And so what's next? Now we've launched, now we're in sales mode. I'm out there as CEO myself, selling a ton. It means a lot, I think, when the CEO is out there selling. I'm getting new messaging every single day. objections, feedback, different ways to phrase things. You always want to speak in your customer's language back to them. And so every day I'll email the sales team, here's what I found today, here's some feedback, keep the pencil sharpener going. We're speaking at conferences, doing demos, live demos go a long way. Continuing the tempo on social. And then you want to build kind of a flywheel. So we've launched it, and now we'll start, we got 15, 20 customers piloting it. In a few months, we'll have lots of good usage data. We'll come back out to everyone who covered us on the launch. We'll come back out in 3 months, say, hey, look, here's all the initial usage data. Here's how people are using it. Here's how they're finding it. Here's some customer quotes. Here's some talent quotes. And so you build this flywheel where every quarter, at least, you can come back to the audience and say, here's how it's going. So to close out here, if there's anything here I didn't cover or something you'd like me to go deeper on, drop a comment and I'll pick it up in the next episode. And if you found this valuable, please share with other founders, marketers, builders, product managers, investors. Helps get the word out. Thanks so much. See you next time.